About a year ago, I paid attention to the fact that you were traveling a lot more than normal. And I asked you questions, what's going on? And you basically refused to tell me, but you mentioned that, there's something going on, stop asking questions. A few months later, I realized it kept going. I asked you again, you refused to tell me, but you told me that in due time, once the operation is over, you'll give me more information. Just a couple of days ago, you gave me a call and you told me that operation was over. You're willing to share information. I asked you what you're willing to share and if you're willing to do it on camera so I can share this information with the world and make it as public as possible so people know what's going on with full transparency. So that's why we're sitting here today. I know you're pressed for time, so I'm happy to make this happen in whatever fashion you choose to allow this to happen in. And I want to ask you in advance if I have permission to share this with the world.
Yes, you do have my permission, provided that I will get the edited version before you give it to the public.
Is it just you who's going to approve it, or does the organization need to approve it as well?
The organization has the final say.
Sounds good. Let's dive into what this operation was all about. Number one, where were you?
Most of the time I was in Europe. There's no need to mention the name of the country.
Are you able to share more information regarding what this operation was about? I know it's been going on for the past year, what this is about, and who's involved.
My mission was to befriend a specific individual for the purpose of gathering information, and at the same time, try to manipulate and influence the outcome of his actions and his people and his clan. That's the right word.
Can you give me a name for who this person is if you're comfortable with sharing that name?
It's the Rothschild family. If you want a specific name, I can give you one name and one name only, which the main target is Nathaniel Jacob Rothschild. His name is longer, but let's call him Mr. Rothschild.
Is he the older one?
Yes.
How old is he?
87.
Now, again, I know you don't like sharing too much information. You said that your goal was to go there. He was your target to manipulate certain things, decisions, and actions. I need more. If we're going to do this, we're going to need more information so we could share something with people.
Well, first of all, I had to become his friend, which I did. Secondly, at the proper time, I gathered the information I needed to give it to my superiors, and then manipulate and try to affect his actions to the way he wanted it.
And when you say to the way we wanted it, we, I'm assuming TLS, the organization, what way did you want on what topic that he wasn't playing ball with, that they needed to send somebody like you to go and influence his decisions?
The topic is a sensitive issue. I don't think I want to say this on camera. I think you know what I'm talking about. It's affecting the world as we speak about it now. And I'm hoping that the operation will be successful with the rest of my team, and we'll be able to stop his evil doing, I would call it.
Your part of the operation is over.
My part is over.
Does this have anything to do with the whole digital currency thing and the banking system?
Mainly, but not only.
Can you give me the other topics that it has to do with?
No, and it doesn't make a difference. Things are about to happen. Big things are about to happen. I believe that most of them will be stopped. Otherwise, we'll be in a big problem. All of us. But I believe things will go the right way.
He's one of the richest men in the world, if not the richest man in the world behind the scenes.
Correct.
Why would you reveal such information? Why would you be open to revealing this information about something you just did with him? Aren't you afraid that he's going to know who you are?
First of all, I got to where I wanted. He's not going to know. He doesn't know my real identity. The friendship is going to continue, but in a different manner. He's not going to have any clue.
Facial recognition, it's something simple. I'm sure he has cameras. All he has to do is put those cameras on your face and see who you are.
Correct, but he doesn't know who is talking now.
I understand.
He meets a lot of people. It's going to be very hard for him to find out who I am. What's going on? Believe me, otherwise I wouldn't be here. I'm sure he's not going to find out who I am. It's going to drive him crazy when he finds out, but he's not going to find out.
Ever?
Ever. I put a mechanism in place, obviously with the help of TLS.
You're talking about something to do with his mind.
As well, of course.
Forget about him. What about his people? How do you even get to a person like that nobody in the public can get to in the first place? How did you get to that point of so-called befriending him undercover and doing what you did?
I was given a certain identity. It was less business, more of a friendship, and spiritual counseling, which, believe me, he needs a lot of it. And his people were taken care of with the same technology that we already have been using for many years here with TLS. For example, one of them that you learned about is the transducing method. I don't know if you already published your... I'm not aware of it. But transducing, that's part of it.
But what did you use as a form of spiritual counsel that you were doing? Or was that the cover and you were doing something else?
That's the cover. I didn't go there to help him. Believe me, that's the last thing I would do.
I know you can't tell me too much about Rothschild and what you did over there specifically with in-depth details, but what can you tell us about this whole CBDC, the central bank digital currency?
As you know, the process of going towards digital currency has already started, unfortunately. Like everything else, if they will do it for the right reasons, I'm all for it. However, their goal is to get to a point where they control you through your money, and the best way to do it is digital money. This is the goal here, to enslave you, control you, take your assets away, and they even talk about it, and they mean what they say. People, unfortunately, don't take it seriously. They think it will not happen, unless something will be done, and if something isn't done immediately, we're going towards a disaster.
Based on this whole operation, do you think that you've succeeded in changing the trajectory of that?
I'm very hopeful that it will succeed. If not 100%, at least 50% of the way, which is a big help. I
gotta ask you, in terms of your identity and whatnot, you said they didn't know your identity when you went there and you did the job, or whenever you were, befriending him, so-called, throughout that process. And they don't know your real name. Do they know you're Jewish?
Yes.
I ask that because they call themselves Jewish, the Rothschild family as a whole. There's a lot of controversy there. They call themselves Zionists and big supporters of Israel. What's your stance on all of that after getting to know this man personally and that family?
That's a difficult question. I'll try to be as brief as I can. So you mentioned a few things here. Number one, they proclaim to be Jewish. They're not Jewish. Not him, and not his grandfather, and not the grandfather before. They're not Jewish. They claim to be Jewish. They have nothing to do with Judaism. It's the exact opposite. However, this is the disguise that they keep in order to do their thing. Regarding being a Zionist, yes, they're very much Zionists. The problem is that people like you don't understand what Zionist even means. Most Jewish people, especially secular Jews, if you were to ask them, are you a Zionist? They will say, of course. When you say I'm a Zionist, you're really saying I'm a Protestant Christian. The source of this movement, the Zionist movement, is coming from Europe, from a man named Nathan Birnbaum. He is the one who started the movement. He was the head of the movement. Later on, you had people like Herzl that joined in.
Nathan was Jewish?
Yes, supposedly.
Okay.
He created the movement, and he started organizing the movement, and people joined him.
He created the movement by the influence of who?
The Protestant Church.
That's why you're saying it's something that stems and roots from the Protestant Church.
Right, which I have no issue with. But when you say I'm a Zionist, you're really saying I'm Christian.
So what was the purpose of Zionism, and what was the purpose of bringing that in association with Judaism and now the State of Israel?
To create a movement to abolish Judaism. Up to that point, Jews were all religious, like the Jewish people, but with the black robes and the hats. Everybody looked like that in Europe. They started to move away from that. So they changed the clothes. If they were in Germany, they dressed like Germans. They started speaking a language based on whatever the people in that country were speaking. It happened all over Europe, not only in Germany, of course.
It's basically like assimilation.
Exactly. They wanted them to assimilate into society, and slowly, slowly get rid of them without killing anybody. So if you go to a country, the best example is Israel. Most of the Jews there are secular Jews. They don't look any different from anybody else. They don't do anything different from anybody else. They call it the Jewish state, but they are very far from Judaism. The idea was to get rid of Judaism, and the Zionist movement was the one to do it. So most Jews in Israel, they're brainwashed. That's why they call themselves Zionists, because they think I'm saying I'm a proud Zionist. I'm a good Jew. I'm protecting my people. I'm protecting my country. But you're not. So are the Rothschild Zionists? Of course. But they're doing it not out of ignorance. They do it because they know what they're doing, and they have an agenda. And they spend the money to build Israel, and they still do because they have an agenda, not because they support Israel and because they're good people. They're doing the same thing in many other countries, including the United States.
So I have to ask you just for a second to play devil's advocate. You're somebody that's anti-religion.
Yes.
What it sounds like that movement is doing is taking people away from religion and more into an assimilation with those around them. It sounds like you would be the first to jump onto that. You're against it. How come?
Correct. Except I'm against taking people away from their spiritual being and their connection to God. And this is their main objective, their main target. I have no problem getting rid of religion, period. Any religion, because I think it's the evil of humanity. It destroyed humanity. It's divided us. And that's how they control us.
But you're saying that, forget about the religion, they're taking people away from their spirituality through that.
As well. Of course. By the way, Mr. Herzl, if you know history, I'm sure you know of him as being a Jewish man, is known to be the father of Israel. He is the one who joined the movement in the 1800s, I believe. He decided that being a Jew does not pay. He converted to Christianity. He never circumcised his children. And he even went to the Pope and said, I will get all the Jews of Europe, starting with Austria, to convert in order to assimilate into society and to be accepted as equals, because they were second-class citizens at the time. The Pope refused. After the Pope refused, he came up with the idea of getting a state for the Jews, a country for the Jews, a place for them to be safe because anti-Semitism was rampant in Europe. So he tried to do it in Israel, but the British were controlling it. Before them, the Turks were controlling it, and he saw that he has no chance of doing anything there. So he came up with another idea, a Zionist idea. Let's build a country for the Jews. We'll call it Israel, or we call it whatever it is, in Uganda. He tried to do it in Uganda. You can check on this information. It's easy. Obviously, the Jews never agreed, and nobody's going to Uganda. Everybody wanted Israel. Everybody wanted Jerusalem because this is their source. Their first prime minister of Israel, the first president of Israel, all from the Zionist movement. The governments of Israel from the Zionist movement. You can ask every one of them. They will tell you I'm Zionist. By the way, a person you admire very much, Albert Einstein, was from the Zionist movement.
You know, every time I speak to you about him, you defer the situation and the conversation. What problem do you have with Albert Einstein? Because in my eyes, the guy's a genius. He's done incredible things. He's changed the world in many ways. He caused for people to see things in a different light, from Newtonian physics to a completely new way of doing things. Do you have a problem with this man?
It's true that I was avoiding the question for a long time with you, because I know how you feel about him, and I know you read his books and his research and all that. The man is a genius. You can't take it away from him. The man won a Nobel Prize, but not for his theory of relativity and his formulas and all that. He got it, I believe, for something to do with astronomy. You can find it also online. He was kind of a con man. Let me explain. I'm not talking about money here. I'm talking about fame. The way he got to this so-called theory of relativity was through somebody else. He's a very bad mathematician. He was very bad in math since he was a small boy. In order to create the theory of relativity, you got to be a genius in math, and he wasn't. He was a genius in other ways. The man who helped him with the theory of relativity was a professor by the name of David Hilbert. He was a German from the Berlin University. He was head of the math department, by the way, and he approached him in order to help him. The theory of relativity was really written by this professor. He just took it ahead of time and published it before him and took all the credit.
Was the professor who helped him in connection or have any connection with TLS?
Not that I know, no. Albert Einstein studied and worked in the Polytechnic Institute in Switzerland. He was kicked out for his radical actions, radical thoughts. He became a problem for them, so they kicked him out. He never graduated, never got a diploma. From there, he went on to work for the patent office. In the patent office, his job was to review certain patterns and what to do with them and file them, whatever it is. At that office, he came up with the idea through other patents that were sent in about the theory of relativity, E equals mc squared, and so on. None of it was his. He took it from other people and took credit for himself. As I said before, everyone is giving him credit for the atomic bomb. Most people do, which is not true. His formula helped the scientists to build the atomic bomb, but he had nothing to do with it. He was not part of the team. There were few doctors, scientists, who were working on it. But he was never part of it. He wanted to be, but they didn't let him in. Everybody was sure that he was responsible, though. Everybody was sure he knew stuff. The Russians actually sent a female spy to befriend him and have a relationship with him in order to gather information. He knew that he doesn't know anything, but he started spilling information out and gave the Russians wrong information without understanding what he was doing. So he is a huge scientist in history who happens to be Jewish, happens to be a Zionist, but he had no idea what the movement was all about. He was brainwashed, like everybody else, because he was not that important to them. He wanted to assimilate into society, like every other Jew wanted to do. And the Jews are doing it today also. There's no difference. Look around you. Just to sum it up, you keep saying I have an issue with Albert Einstein. The only issue I have is that he's a genius, a scientist that changed the world, but through being a con man, not because he did what he claims to do.
I know you only have, a little bit of time this time around, and this is a little pressing on time as well. I just want to ask you while I have you here, in regards to what you know regarding the most recent news having to do with extraterrestrial life. There are congressional hearings. A lot of people are starting to speak about it. You spoke about Operation Bluebeam in the past. What do you know about the fact that they're speaking about retrieving actual physical, non-terrestrial, extraterrestrial bodies?
Well, the hearings you're talking about, that's all over the news, it's staged. It's not real.
What do you mean?
Exactly what you heard. It's staged. It's not real. They're doing it to prepare you for the agenda that's going to come later on. Hopefully it will not, but that's an agenda. The whistleblowers are part of them. Everything is a show over there, so don't believe what you see on TV.
What about the hearing that Dr. Stephen Greer held?
Dr. Greer's information is 100% correct. I'm not saying there's no UFOs. Of course there are UFOs. I'm saying those people are staging it because they have an agenda to create a UFO attack when necessary in order for them to get what they want, to bring you to your knees, so you're going to agree for the New World Order. It's all connected. Everything is connected to everything. Everything that's happening here in every field, it's connected to this notion of New World Order. That's what they're going for. That's the show here. I'm not telling you they don't exist. Of course they exist. UFOs will never attack here. UFOs are coming here to do a certain job, which we spoke about before, so I'm not going to repeat it. It's really just a waste of time. But anybody that tells you they will attack, it's BS. If they wanted to attack, they would have done so a long time ago.
To the common person, a lot of what you're saying may sound strange. It may sound bizarre because you're basically saying that everything that we know may be fake about history, about even our present times right now with what you just shared. So how do we know what's real and what's fake? There are a lot of videos out there about a lot of things. Take, the shape of the earth. Some say it's flat, some say it's round. There are videos that it's round, they say they're fake. Where do we, draw the line on what's true and what's not true?
First of all, you're right that a lot of the information out there is fake and it's false. And it's done purposely because they don't want you to know certain things. They want to keep you dumb and ignorant. We spoke about this before regarding UFOs. Why are they hiding it for so many years? It's like, we know it's there already. It's so obvious. We know it's there. So why are they hiding it? Why are they coming out with it now with all these hearings in Congress? The hearings in Congress are staged. It's being done on purpose because they have an agenda. They want to do it to make you understand, okay? We admit UFOs when they didn't admit it before, because when they want to start a UFO war, they'll do it. But they will do it. It has nothing to do with UFOs. That's part of their agenda. Hopefully we're not going to get there. But they're staging this in Congress on purpose. Not because the information is wrong, because the falsehood behind the hearing is to stage a reality they want to create in the future. You understand so far? That's one. Regarding the rest of the fake information, videos about, for example, NASA going to the moon, most of it, you're right, they are fake. But just because the videos are fake, it doesn't mean that they didn't go to the moon. They're not going to give you most of the information, the true information, because they want to hide certain things. They don't want to give you the information because they use certain technology that we spoke about, like free energy. Because if they're going to come out and say UFOs exist, the second question a person will ask is, what type of energy are they using? They don't want to reveal that because if they reveal that, tomorrow they cannot charge you for the electric bill at your house. And we spoke about it before, so we'll make it short. It's all about an agenda. The hearings that are happening in Washington right now, these are fake hearings. It was staged on purpose and has nothing to do with the Republicans or Democrats. It's to prepare you for the potential UFO attack when they feel it's necessary for them to have it. To sum it up, to make it as short as possible, what you're claiming about fake videos, it's correct. I'm not saying no, but again, it's done for a reason to mislead you. Let's take a video that has nothing to do with NASA right now. Let's talk about the video. The famous video that all of us saw from the 50s or the 60s when they did an atomic bomb test experiment. When they filmed the whole thing, and you could see when they're blowing it up, everything for 2 miles is being vaporized. Buildings, electric poles, cars, being vaporized to nothing. But nobody asked the question, who took the video? If it was a robot, how did the camera survive the atomic bomb? And we still have a video. The fact that we have a video of something like that tells you that it's fake. And by the way, since then, there were many other experiments that they did. Why is there no new video? We know they did experiments. Where are the videos? There are no videos. So back to your original question. Are there fake videos? Yeah, plenty of them. Most of them are fake. But it doesn't mean they didn't get to the moon. It doesn't mean UFOs don't exist. It doesn't mean that Earth is not a globe. That's it.
So to summarize all of this, I like asking you this every so often. What do we do? What can we do?
You are bringing awareness to the world, and we need more people like you. You are trying to do it in a peaceful manner, which I admire. I'm asking everybody to rise up, get the information, and do your own research. I know it's hard, but it's possible. I need everybody to rise up and join people like you. You are creating a new movement. There's many more like you doing it as we speak. I want everybody to join them. You, your friends, and others who do that. I personally feel, unfortunately, that the evildoers that we spoke about before are winning right now. That's the reason I do what I do. Hopefully we're going to stop it. And we're really going to get the world peace because believe me, we need it. All of us need it.
Okay, I hope everybody takes that to heart. And again, I see a lot of progress being made, but it needs to continue for us to get to where we need to get to. So, as usual, thank you for your time, and I look forward to doing this at some point soon again.
See you soon.